Hi folks, Eagles beat reporter Mike Kaye here for NJ.com. The Eagles have an under-the-radar need. They don't have a lot of pressing needs. They don't have a spot where they really need to spend a first-round pick. That said, though, they do have a serious depth need along the interior offensive line. After moving on from Stefan Wisniewski, the versatile veteran, who is still a free agent, the Eagles really lack depth behind starters Jason Kelce, Brandon Brooks, and Isaac Seumalo at guard and center. You look at what they have behind them, there's 2 practice squad holdovers and former 6th-round pick Matt Pryor, who did not play a game as a rookie. Now, the practice squad holdovers, Caleb Johnson and Anthony Fabiano, can play all 3 positions. That said, they've got very limited NFL experience. They're both former undrafted players. Like I said, Pryor's a former 6th-round pick. It's not like upside's like a huge thing at the interior offensive line position. That's why the Eagles may want to address the position in this upcoming draft. They will have plenty of opportunities at the 25th overall pick or in future rounds outside of the first round. Now, you look at the first-round pick at 25, the Eagles could have the option of adding someone like Kansas State's Dalton Reisner, a guy like Boston College's Chris Lindstrom. Another guy that would be interesting would be Oklahoma's Cody Ford. These are 3 guys that really can play multiple positions and start at multiple positions, and that's what the Eagles really need to look for. Brandon Brooks is coming off Achilles surgery. He might start the season on the physically unable to perform list. If he has to miss the first 6 games of the season, the Eagles are going to need a new starting right guard. Matt Pryor sounds like a nice prospect. That said, that's what he is. He's a prospect. You want to add more prospects in competition so you get the right guy in there at right guard in case Brandon Brooks can't play. That said, too, with Jason Peters on the verge of retirement probably next year, probably moving on, you need a plan for the future. So drafting a guy who can play guard and center or guard and tackle would be the key move here. You know, Jason Kelce contemplated retirement this offseason. That said, maybe he's questionable for retirement next season. You know, this is a situation where the Eagles really have to plan ahead, and the offensive line is one of its older units. So, with that said, with Isaac Seumalo being really the only, younger guy, still within the basis of his rookie contract, even though he signed a multi-year extension, the Eagles really need to add some youth to this offensive line. They also need to add talent. They need to prioritize the position. While safety is important, while linebacker is important, while wide receiver is important for long-term depth and long-term needs and long-term development, offensive line is one of the foundations of your team, and the Eagles love to build in the trenches. That's why I think they will address this under-the-radar need. We can talk about offensive tackle till we're blue in the face, but really guard and center are where it's at. Can you grab a guy who's very versatile? Of course. It's not all about the first round, but the Eagles do need to address the guard or center position, or both. Ideally, they would spend a couple of draft picks on the offensive line because you want to find that heir apparent to Jason Peters, whether that's Big V or somebody who's going to compete with Big V. Or you want to find a guy who can stabilize the interior offensive line, because right now Matt Pryor's an unknown. Granted, you're going to draft somebody who's also going to be an unknown, but if their upside and their talent are an upgrade over Pryor, then you got to feel good about the center guard position moving forward. I think the Eagles will probably address the center or guard position in the middle rounds. They have 2 4th-round picks and 2 2nd-round picks, both perfect opportunities to add someone with some versatility who can play right away. If they do decide that it's a massive need, I think Dalton Reisner from Kansas State makes a lot of sense. Potential future left tackle. He also can play guard and center. He was a center as a redshirt freshman at Kansas State. That's a big role to have, so he obviously can play it at a high level. He's also played right tackle for the last 3 years and was a 3-year team captain. I like Lindstrom a lot. I like Ford a lot. This is a okay draft for offensive line talent. It's not a great draft for offensive line talent. There will be some depth later in the draft, but that said, the Eagles do need to address the position. For all of our Eagles coverage, turn to the sports section of NJ.com.